The TV system has always been a major topic of conversation when it comes to Zenless Zone Zero. When it fully came out, it allowed so many people to actually try out this TV mode, which was already getting criticism in the beta state, and there was a massive wave of feedback that said the TV system was complete dog shit, needed to be removed, no reason for the TV system to exist. And then recently, the devs actually posted a face-to-face where they said they heard that feedback and they will be removing the TV system from the main story and even going back to the beginning chapters and kind of rewriting them, reworking them to reduce and maybe potentially even fully remove the TV system from those earlier chapters. I don't think they'll fully remove them, but anyway, when that dev thing came out, basically the reverse happened of when the game launched. There was a massive outcry that the TV system is wanted, it is unique, it is cool, it needs to be there in the main story. Because there's all this back and forth and there's kind of this massive divide on the TV system, I actually had a discussion stream where we went through and I really truly wanted to try and find what's the problem with the TV system? Where is the core issue with the people that do not like the TV system at all? Because I do think that the TV system is something very unique and something really cool that is in the game. I have been a TV lover since the very first beta, where the game was truly 99% TV and like 1% combat. So I've always been an advocate for this system, so I thought that it would be perfect for this discussion. And honestly, this discussion was so good. The entire time, everyone was completely civil in the actual discussion. We did have a couple TV haters in the chat, and that was absolutely needed. We needed to have the TV haters in there so that we could properly get their point of view on the system. And so I do want to go ahead and just give a warning here. In this video, I would like, whenever we talk about it in the comments, to still stay civil. Some things that I've seen online, I know the TV haters like to just say the system is dog shit, but let's give like actual feedback. Let's stay civil in the comments and let's not argue and fight. Let's try and find the solution here. And one thing that I want to get into before I talk about what I think could actually fix the TV mode from the feedback that we got on the stream is I want to go into why I think the TV mode is unique, why I think it's important to keep in the game. There are multiple stories that are showcased in Zenless that are incredibly unique in the presentation that could only be provided in the form of the TV area. The biggest example is Rena's agent story. For those that haven't done it, there's a very wholesome story, there's a very emotional story that happens with an older lady, and whenever she is giving this backstory of what actually happened, and it's being explained how she went through to save these kids, we are in the TV mode actively replaying how she went through this building to save these kids and how she did that in the past. If we were to have that mission without the TV mode, one, it probably wouldn't happen. It would be a completely different story, because if they were going to do that story and they wanted to showcase it in a very similar fashion of having you go through what she did, they would have to build an entire building that has nothing to do with the current playable areas, because where this occurred was somewhere that we don't have access to. And two, it would have to give a 3D model of a younger version of the older lady, and you would be walking around an area trying to find these kids, going through blocked paths with no combat, because there was no ethereals in this building when she was saving the kids. It was purely her trying to find them and get them out of the hollow before they ended up corrupting from low ether aptitude. This entire story really would not be as emotional, as fun to go through, and impactful as it was in the TV mode. And I know you're saying, okay, well, that was or I heard a lot of people say, okay, well, that's a side story. You know, they were trying to get it out of the main story. We don't need it in the main story. Well, chapter 3, right? Chapter 3, the entire thing was super unique, and there's a lot of really cool different styles of movement that they had in the TV system in chapter 3. But think about how chapter 3 would have played out, or even chapter 2, if the TV system wasn't there, right? In chapter 3, you'd be walking around a completely dark building trying to turn lights on with random ass fights of trash mobs, and there wouldn't be any ghost to send you back, because where would they send you back? to the beginning of the combat stage and then you have to walk all the way back, that would be awful. That would be boring. Now, there is ways, like comments have said, that they could make that super fun. There is Ghost Ethereals. You have to hide. It becomes a stealth mission, which, one, big problem is a lot of people don't like stealth missions. Two, if it is a stealth mission, you are still actively avoiding combat at that point, which goes into the situation of it's not actually combat that's the issue. The issue is what we're going to get into here in a second, the lack of presence of the agents during the TV mode. And that was just for chapter 3, right? Even for chapter 2, let's take that as an example, where we're in the situation of placing the 3 different machines to triangulate where the signal from the prototype was coming from. If this was a regular rally style commission, you would be walking to 3 different areas, again, defeating trash mobs, placing the robots down, and then it would immediately cut out and then go to like normal dialogue. The TV section allowed a very unique style gameplay where you are able to control those robots, like move them around, and have this cool little section in chapter 2 that you otherwise would not have gotten. Now, they could definitely increase the way that the combat styles is, like rally style commissions, and make them more fun. They have in the new update 1.2, the chapter 4 rally commissions are really cool. There's like etheric matter that rains down. It's sick. It's unique, but it's not a replacement for what the TV system actually provides. So, like I said, this stream was actually incredibly beneficial for trying to figure out what the core issue was. So, we obviously went through, like, what's some things that we could improve on the TV system, which I'll get into later in the video. I'll have a whole section here for the actual feedback that we collected in that stream. But in the stream, I gave the point. The TV system is normally being ragged on for replacing combat sections, taking away the combat from the game. But I let chat know that's not the case. Presentation on the style of the main story of Zenless and Star Rail is Zenless has multiple different ways of showcasing the actual story drops, like the story moments, as opposed to Star Rail, where the biggest story beats are being told in 45 minute really long dialogue heavy sections, right, where there's no combat happening. But in Zenless, there's the comics, there's the TV mode, there's the normal dialogue, and then there's combat in between. There's 4 different styles of presentation in Zenless, as opposed to Star Rail, where there's technically 3. The dialogues, the cutscenes, and then the combat itself, and the puzzles in between. Zenless is incorporating the puzzles and the walking in between and the combat together as its own little thing, but the amount of actual combat you're getting in both games is pretty much the same. The difference is a lot of the sections of dialogue that would be just normal dialogue in Star Rail is shown as the TV section, which is something interactive. I brought up the point of what is the difference in the story presentation of, let's say, Genshin or Star Rail, where people don't complain about the really, really long dialogue heavy sections where you're going through 45 minutes of story with no combat, as opposed to Zenless, where they're giving you a unique style of interactive media while the story's being told, and that is being hated on because it's taking away combat, even though in both sections you're not doing combat. The issue of people saying that it's taking away combat is not the actual issue here. So when I asked that question, it was very interesting. What actually came to be is that the difference of why one is okay and one feels bad to them is because the models of the character are visible. The characters, the agents themselves in the story are present. They have the feeling that they're making an impact in the story. That is not present in the TV mode. That is true. In the TV mode, there is only the little EOS, you traveling through the TV. The agents are only visible in the small little dialogue pop-ups in the corner, as opposed to Star Rail or Genshin, where they're physically on screen, and while not doing much, they are moving around doing a little, animation, and they feel more present in the story. That is the main issue that I have seen. Now, obviously, there are some people that just completely hate the TV system, okay? I just got to say it now. There is not going to be a complete solution that completely satisfies both sides, the TV haters and the TV enjoyers. There is going to have to be a compromise. I do think that they should focus on one, but as a company, they want to make money. They want to try to make as many players happy as possible, so they're going to try and find a middle ground. So we have to accept that, and we need to try and find the best middle ground possible. So, like I said, I know it's not 100%, but the biggest point that I could find of all the TV haters from the feedback was that they want the agents to be physically there, physically present, to make it feel like they're actually doing something in the story. So I asked, okay, so in the new story in 1.2, we did get to play as the agents. I didn't really enjoy the sections where all we're doing is standing next to a pillar. Right? All we did to collect data was stand next to a pillar and defeat multiple trash mob enemies, walk to a next area, and then repeat the process. It's the same situation that I don't like in Star Rail or Genshin, where I'm just walking around doing needless walking and interacting with simple objects to advance the story. It's why I love the TV system, because the TV system is a unique way to kind of separate those sections there. And unsurprisingly, the people that want the characters present there loved the way that the story was in 1.2, where you are doing what I think is less interactive of standing next to the pillar. They found that more enticing because they could see the agents, they could control the agents, they're on the screen, they're doing something, they're moving around, they feel present in the story. And it's ironic because when they do that, what did we have in 1.2? We now have the TV enjoyers and even some TV haters feeling that the presence of the MC isn't there, right? Now the MCs don't feel like they're a part of the story because it doesn't feel like they did anything. It feels like it could have been any other proxy, and even the Vanquishers, they didn't do really anything different from what the Vanquishers did. They used a normal carrot in the hollow. So it's those things of like, okay, now if we do combat, the MCs don't feel present, but if we have the TV sections, then the agents don't feel present. So the core issue of what we need to actually have the TV system change is have a way that both the agents and the MC feel present in the story. So the easiest way that I think we can solve this problem is kind of flipping the percentage that we're in the TV and when we're in combat. So instead of being in the TV for about 80% of the time or 70% of the time, whatever, and then doing combat, having those little small combat instances in between, having the combat kind of like a rally commission style area, being about 60-70% of the thing, but during that rally commission, something happens. A path is blocked, the data gets corrupted, or something happens where it will then switch over to the TV mode, where the MCs in the TV mode have to do something important, impactful, and open up something for the agents so that it feels like both the agents and the MC are doing something. One of the other big feedbacks that I heard from TV haters was that it feels like it's completely useless. There's nothing they are actually doing in the story in the TV mode. So I brought up the TV mode section in chapter 2.5, where you are actively only opening up the paths, changing the paths for Zhiyuan and Xingyi. And then when they got to combat areas, you would do the combat as Zhiyuan and Xingyi. And they said, a mass majority of the feedback that I heard was that that was okay. That felt all right, because while it wasn't a puzzle, right? A lot of people don't like to do puzzles. That wasn't really a puzzle. It was you playing as the MCs and impacting the agents and helping them along in the story. Both of them felt present. So what they could do in future chapters is, like I said, flip it, right? Have that rally style kind of commission, and then something happens. The data gets corrupted. It then flips over to the TV mode, and then whatever we do in the TV mode isn't necessarily a puzzle, but it's unique and feels impactful. That is the biggest change that we can do to the TV to kind of satisfy both sides, at least as much as possible. Now, as far as actual improvements for the TV system, as the TV system is now, there was actually a lot of feedback that we got during that stream that actually was implemented in 1.2. The reduce of zoom ins on the event tiles, like especially the gear coin gate door, now that doesn't zoom in at all. You go near the gate and a little prompt comes up at the bottom corner that just says, hey, it costs this much, pay for it, and then it just opens up the gate and you get to go through. That was a big thing, was that the zoom ins were slowed down the process of the TV system a lot. And so if they could somehow reduce even more of the zoom ins, then I know that would make some people happier as well. One of the other feedbacks that we got was that the dialogue, whenever you would speed up, it would do the 2x speed. The dialogue would auto skip itself because it was trying to speed up. I did hear that this was actually changed in 1.2. I haven't been able to go through and check that yet. But if they could make it where during the speed up section, it doesn't actually auto cut off the dialogue, but it would only cut off if, for say, you went into a combat area or you went into a tile that would actually warrant the audio being cut off. And then with, again, another feedback with the dialogue was a lot of people wanted there to be a more prominent visual indicator that the history of the dialogue is actually available in the TV mode. If you were to miss some of the dialogue prompts that came up in the top corner, if you actually pause the game, you can go to the text history and see, but it's kind of hidden. And so if they kind of make that a little bit more visually apparent, then that would be nice for players to actually see. Another aspect is the visual appearance of the TV mode needs to be changed. It is a little bland. They could do so many cool things with the visuals of the TV mode. They did do a little bit of it in 1.2 where the little motorcycle thing, there's a custom EOS on a motorcycle. That's really cool. The custom animations of like driving left to right, you could see it kind of drift a little bit depending on the movement that you do. It leaves behind like the cactus, like the desert path of where you're going. But the TV border themselves could be changed depending on what hollow you go into or what theme of the area that you're in. They could actually change the asset of the TVs themselves and also make the background more colorful. Right now, the background does technically fit the theme of where you are. For example, in the new TVs, there is the desert in the background, but what I heard but a lot of the feedback that I got was it would be nice if it was similar to Camellia Golden Week, where it was that super colorful background, just something eye-popping, visually pleasing, as opposed to just the massive, TV with the faint background there. So visually, there is a lot of improvements that could be made, depending on kind of like what hollow you go into, or again, if there's a certain theme of the mission that we're going on, then they can kind of change it. For example, in Chapter 2, the TVs could kind of have like caution tape, or, be orange with or yellow with the color of the machines, and just look like an actual like construction site, as opposed to just the regular border of the TVs. That would help visually a lot of people be interested in the TV mode, as opposed to seeing the kind of bland TV visually that we have now. The TV mode is too handholdy. This was one of the other biggest feedbacks that we got, and to be fair, honestly, I do agree with this. The TV mode does feel linear, right? It does feel extremely handholdy. It will completely zoom to another area to showcase a new path opened up, or a new like mechanic is about to happen. Instead of letting the player explore it themselves, it is explicitly moving the camera away from EOS, the controllable playable character, and showing you something new that's happening off screen, and then moving all the way back. So if they could reduce the amount of hand holding that they do in the TV mode and just let the players actually explore and do it on their own, that would help a lot of people. That was a major feedback and complaint, was that it just felt like it was just a tutorial for them, just tutorial after tutorial. And with that little where it would move away and showcase a new thing, it interrupts the TV system too much. It feels like there's too much interruption. So instead of it actually moving the camera, restricting the movement of your character until it shows you what's going on and then comes back, what it could do to feel a lot smoother is, instead of moving, zooming out so we can still see where we were, still have control over our own movement in the TV system, but still see what's happening in wherever they wanted to show us. And then once it's done, it'll zoom back in. but at that entire duration, we won't lose control of EOS in the TV system, because it does feel like that is adding a lot of length to the TVs, and it does feel like it is just strictly taking control away from the player to watch something happen in the TV mode. So if they could do that little zoom out and just make it where we don't actually lose control of our player of EOS in the TV system, that would help a lot of people actually feel better about going through the system as a whole. And for those that don't like the TV system, they absolutely could add a skip button on the TV system. I'm not saying to skip the story. I know there are people that want to go through the story, not be story skippers, but not have to do the TV system. And like I said, if they do that change of having it be technically 60-70% combat mission and then 30% 40% of the TV mode, but have it be impactful, that would help a lot. But for those that just straight up do not want to do any TV, they can add a skip button for the TV sections where it would do something similar to the normal skip, where it would give a paragraph of what is actually happening in the story, that of whatever dialogue happened during that section and what you accomplished during that TV section, and then allow them to skip it and then just go right back into whatever the rally style commission you were doing before. While this is not a fix-all button, obviously, like I said, it will help for those players that just straight up do not want to do anything with the TV system at all. That skip button will be a major indicator of that being there. Now, that was pretty much all of the feedback that we got during that stream. And of course, if you want to go watch that stream and hear the entire conversation that we had, I highly recommend doing it. That stream was super, super nice to actually go through and have that conversation of the TV systems. But that is the biggest feedback that I can actually give for allowing this TV system to change, and for the better for both sides. Those that don't want to do the TV at all, and those that want to have the TV system there. I would like to have the TV system in the story. I think it is a major identity of the game. I think it's a major identity of the main characters. And it actually feels like it's a unique system in the game. If they take it out, it's just going to feel like Star Rail and Genshin again. And there's really no need to do that. If we want that, Star Rail and Genshin are right there. Zenless is so unique in its personality and its style, the way it tells the story, and the TV mode adds to that. It's the greatest example of how unique Zenless can actually be, and I don't want them to fully get rid of that. And I'm happy to see that they are trying to improve on it and not fully remove it. So, yeah. I just wanted to have a little discussion on the TV system and actually bring this up to light, to a lot more people. And if you have any other feedback that you think could help the TV system, like I said, leave it in the comments below. Please keep it civil. And again, I know for those that hate the TV system, you may not like the options that I gave, and you just still want the TV system to be completely removed. But like I said, we're going to have to find a middle ground because right now the community is split. And a big part of why the community is split, to be fair, on our side, Hoyo did not advertise the TV system at all. That is one of the biggest mistakes as to why the TV system is so retaliated against, is because the marketing did not show the TV system at all. And so the people that came in for all the combat stuff and the advertising, and then they go into the TV mode and they're like, what the heck? I have to do this weird puzzle thing instead of doing the cool action combat? This isn't what I wanted. So they absolutely could have done better on their side on actually marketing the TV system as being a part of the game, since it was such a big part and that it wasn't in any of the advertising. But the advertising of the game is technically over, right? So they're not going to advertise the TV system now. Everyone knows the TV system is a part of the game. That part is already, that was too far in the past. But now we need to look to the future. We need to find a way to improve and get these things to a middle ground. But yes, thank you guys for watching. I hope that this brought to light a couple opportunities for the TV haters to understand where the TV enjoyers are coming from. And like I said, let me know your feedback in the description so we can keep talking about it and keep the conversation alive. And I'll see you guys in the next one.